At the end of every fantasy football season, there's at least 1 or 2 guys that you regret not drafting. Well, that won't be the case this year because in this video, we have identified 4 players that you cannot pass up on. Starting at number 4, Isaiah Pacheco, who's coming off a really nice year. He was the RB14 in fantasy points per game, 12th in explosive run rate. But here's where it gets juicy. The Chiefs decided not to re-sign Jerick McKinnon, which is massive news for Pacheco, who in 7 games without McKinnon last year was the RB3, where he averaged 20 fantasy points per game and 20 total touches. So you're telling me we're going to get a player like Pacheco in an electric offense like Kansas City, where he's the true workhorse back and where he's going to see most, if not all, the pass down work? You can get that kind of a player in round 4. I think Pacheco is one of the best values in fantasy football this year. I honestly think he has top 5 upside if he's going to be as involved as a passer as it looks like he's going to be with McKinnon gone. I'm projecting Pacheco to have over 1,000 rushing yards, 60 plus receptions, and 12 plus total touchdowns. At number 3, Zay Flowers, who's coming off a solid rookie year, and everyone is very quick to go straight to the splits where he was with Mark Andrews and without Mark Andrews. The first half of the year, he averaged 11 fantasy points per game with Andrews. And then when Andrews went down the second half of the year, he averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game. I'm with you on that. That's a drastic difference. But I have a couple of arguments against that. One being most rookie receivers don't really catch their stride, get hot, find a rhythm until the second half of the year anyway. So while Mark Andrews was gone and Zay Flowers was the clear-cut number 1 target, the first half of the year he was just getting acclimated to being in the NFL. So I think it's going to look a lot different this year, especially with Odell Beckham Jr. gone. These targets are going to be consolidated to Flowers and Andrews. I don't know why everyone is so deterred. He only has to deal with one other person. There's only 2 people that are really going to be fighting for targets in an offense. That's a situation you would love to have on any other team, right? So I'm not really worried about it. The Ravens didn't really bring in anyone else except a 4th round receiver who's not going to compete for targets with Zay Flowers whatsoever. And plus, last year we saw with Baltimore and new offensive coordinator Todd Monken that they like to throw the ball a little bit more, as they were 7th in neutral pass rate. Lamar also took huge strides as a passer, setting new career highs in yardage, completion percentage, and yards per attempt. That's also great news for Flowers. I feel like the situation kind of reminds me of when Amon-Ra St. Brown got scorching hot the end of his rookie year, and everyone blamed it on, well, TJ Hawkinson was hurt. So that's the only reason why he went off. Now, while Amon-Ra St. Brown's numbers to close out the year were a lot more impressive than Flowers last year, and I do think Amon-Ra St. Brown is an overall better receiver, but I still think the situation is similar in a sense. The moral of the story is don't avoid Zay Flowers with his round 3 ADP just because of the poor splits with Mark Andrews. I think that's silly. I think anytime you can get a wide receiver 1 on an elite offense with a really good quarterback and a new offensive coordinator who likes to pass the ball, plus they have Derrick Henry, which, yeah, you could argue they might run more. You could also argue that Derrick Henry is going to take a lot of attention from opposing defenses, which is going to free up, in my opinion, Zay Flowers, especially in the short, intermediate game, play action game. I think these are all good things for Flowers. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I think he's an absolute steal at his round 3 ADP. At number 2, Jaden Reed, who led the Packers in targets per game, receptions, receiving yards, and total touchdowns in his rookie year. He's a lethal weapon outside of the slot for Jordan Love, as 67% of his routes last year came from inside. While he sported a 25% target rate per route run, averaging 2.31 fantasy points per target, here's the thing. Green Bay's wide receiver room is absolutely loaded with young talent. I do think that Jaden Reed, though, is one of the best in that group. Green Bay likes to play Reed in that Deebo Samuel role, so he gives you a little bit of rushing upside. I think drafting Jaden Reed in round 5 is an absolute value attached to who I think is an elite quarterback in Jordan Love on a special offense with a creative play caller in Matt LaFleur. When you have a player that's as versatile as Reed is, he can play inside, he can play outside, you can put him in the backfield. That's great news in fantasy because he has a lot of different ways to accumulate fantasy points. I think he's an absolute value in round 5 with a ton of upside in what will be an elite Green Bay offense. And at number 1, Devonta Anan, who's coming off an absolutely spectacular rookie year where he averaged 7.8 yards per carry. He was first in explosive run rate, second in yards after contact per attempt, third in missed tackles forced per attempt. He is an absolute blur in open space. The only real knock that people have on Anan is his size and durability, as he only played 11 games last year. But what a lot of people don't realize is that last offseason was the first offseason that Anan could actually try to gain weight and muscle, because before that, he was training for track. So Anan has only had one offseason. This will be his second year to intentionally put on weight and muscle. And there's already been reports that he's bulked up and he has been gaining weight, which is massive news. Because if Anan can stay healthy and stay on the football field for a full season this year, mark my words, he is top 3, if not RB1 overall upside. I'm not worried about Raheem Mostert. He's a nice player, but he's entering his age 32 season. Mike McDaniels is a smart coach. He's gonna use his best player, which is Devonta Anan, in the backfield. I'm not worried about Jalen Wright whatsoever. Don't make the mistake. You don't want to have that regret that I was talking about at the end of this year when you passed up on Anan just because of his size and durability. There's a chance he doesn't get hurt, right? He's an absolute superstar with a special talent on a potent Miami offense that has a really good run scheme. Man, I want as much Anan as possible. He's just one of those running backs that the upside is way too good to pass up on. In fantasy, you have to take calculated risks, right? There's a risk with every single player. Anan is one of those players that you want to take the risk on. You want to take the chance on because his upside is league altering, league winning. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.